I was watching it and it felt to me that you needed the skill of a director that has like, decades of experience to put that world together. Do you agree? And how were you able, like, on a day-to-day basis to just gauge his skills, Spielberg?
Well, I love working with Steven and as a devoted fan of his, as someone who grew up on a diet of his films, really, it was a privilege to get to actually be in the eye of the storm with him. And it isn't really a storm. He's very calm as a director. He's incredibly personable. He has an intuition which is uncanny. He'll walk onto the set and he'll explain things in very simple terms, and it just works really, really well. And he'll give you ideas, and he'll give you performance notes, which you of course listen to, and are always spot on. He knows what he wants. He's just incredibly talented. He speaks fluent cinema.
And he has this candor about him that's also, so endearing, because he's still excited about it as if it was his first film.
I know. It's wonderful. I hope that my enthusiasm for my job is as great as his when, I'm as far down the line as he is. I'm sure he's got a billion great films left in him, but he eats, sleeps, breathes, lives cinema. And he always gets excited on set. If we do a good take, he goes, "That's in the movie." And it's like the best validation you could get,
Yeah, exactly. That's it. I don't need to do 20 takes anymore. Yeah. Do you resist the temptation of asking him so many questions because he is who he is? I would want to poke him all day, and
Oh, no, absolutely, I do. I mean, the funny thing is that he's not sort of shy about talking about his career. He's also not, he doesn't crow about it either.
He's not vain.
No, he's not vain. But if you ask him a question, what was that like on Jaws? He'll tell you. I've heard so many great stories from him about shooting Close Encounters, Jaws, the Raiders movies. It's just, I feel like I'm getting privileged access to the most, insane treasure trove for me as a film fan. It's great. And also sometimes he'll just go, "Oh yeah, I remember when I was working with Stanley Kubrick on something," or "I went round to Johnny Williams' house and we were composing the score." And it's just like, this is the best it gets,
The movie has a lot of themes. What was most resonant for me is, should life be immersed in a virtual reality, or should we, stay a little bit more down to earth? What is your viewpoint on that dialogue?
I think there's an interesting line in the film that says about people stop trying to deal with the world's problems and just try to outlive them. And I think if we don't face up to the world's problems and try and change things and make things better, then we will increasingly want to just withdraw somewhere else, And the more these places become a reality, the more likely that is, It worries me in a way because I feel like we really have to step up our game as a species in order to sort of prevail. And the more the temptations of virtual realities appear, the more likely people are just like, "Oh, whatever," and they'll just disappear off,
Yeah.
As the world gets crazier around us, and it is exponentially getting crazier and crazier.
Yeah, and you can see it around us. It's not only virtual reality as per se, it's social media, it's the digital world, it's the fact that we kind of live in a parallel universe. Do you try to avoid that a little bit in your personal life?
No, I don't really go on social media, but I certainly surf the internet, and I tend to read the news a lot, or a lot of the information that I receive is through the internet. So I can see how it's a tempting place to be. Also, it's a place. What we have now is a very primitive version of this. We can project a personality that we want to project onto online. The people that we are online aren't necessarily the people we are in real life. Our Facebook status is what we want everyone to think we're feeling. It's not how we're feeling usually, and so this is basically there's a direct line from now to this, and it all still applies now, really.
And for you to avoid it, you've been so busy film after film. So how do you cope with so many shoots? And tell us a little bit about what's coming up in terms of impossibility of missions.
Well, I try and spend as much time as I can in the real world and at home. And fortunately for me, the films I've shot recently have been shot here in the UK, which has been great, including Ready Player One and Mission Impossible Fallout. That's going to be out in July. And I have another film that I did with Margot Robbie called Terminal, which will be out in May, I think. And a horror comedy called Slaughterhouse Rules, which comes out, I think, in September. So it's a busy year for me this year in terms of plug-in stuff.